Hey guys, first regards in here, and I'll be talking about every single heroic weapon in Space Marine 2 patch 14 and tier listing them. And now I am getting over a chest cold, so my voice may be cracking like a Sierra fault line throughout this video, but bear with me here because we'll be going over every single option the game has on offer for a heroic weapon now, and there are a ton in the game in 2026. We're about to get 6 more almost guaranteed in patch 15 in September, so we're gonna have a ton of options for Space Marine 2, and we're going through them all one by one with like no particular order, starting off with the Xenophase Blade. Now, the Xenophase Blade, this is S tier for aura. Like, the Xenophase Blade looks really cool, but the heroic power effect on this buffs up the radius of your power rake, and the radius here, or the arc increase, will give you a vertical increase and a horizontal increase, which is super strong for killing enemies like Zoanthropes and Neurothropes, and also buffing up your damage against stuff like Enlightened Zangors. Super nice weapon. I think this one's actually pretty strong despite its balanced parry window, and on classes like Tech Marine you can one-shot Majors with this pretty much, so I would say A tier. I think the Xenophase Blade is in a pretty good spot. This weapon has been buffed multiple times since it originally came out in patch 10 last year, and at the moment it's in a great spot, and I think it's a contender for like a top 3 power sword in the entire game. Now, the next weapon here is the Combi Melta. The Combi Melta is a bolt rifle with a Melta portion attached to it. I kind of like this thing, okay? Now, it's not the strongest option in the game. The Combi Melta is definitely lagging behind a lot of the other stronger options we have, like the heroic Deathwatch rifle we'll get into later. But that being said, it has its use case scenarios. It has a pretty easy time triggering perk effects like Rapid Health or, Rampage, and because of that, I think it's a pretty solid pick for B tier. I don't think it's like really that strong. I would definitely not put in A, but as far as like a utility option goes, I like this on Tech Marine. I like this on the tactical class. It performs pretty well. It's just not like, mind-blowing or anything. Next weapon here is the Power Gladius. This weapon is actually pretty damn strong. You can one-shot bosses with a charged up Shadow Stab, because what this weapon does is it gives you a 120% melee damage increase to your next attack that can stack up to 3 times on a perfect dodge, which with a tactical aspects is kind of absurd amounts of damage. I think this one is super underrated. The only thing that's really holding this back is the balanced parry window, and I think the other heroic knife is definitely better, but Power Gladius still pretty strong. I think it is actually above the Xenophase potentially, because this weapon can be super clutch on both Chaos and Tyranids, where I've had moments where I'm playing tactical and I'm like, okay, if I don't one-shot this boss, I might be fucked, and this weapon has saved me in those scenarios. And just because of that, I think the ability to one-shot a boss on a pretty standard repeat is a really strong option in the game. Power Gladius is definitely up in A for me. Next weapon here is the heroic Plasma Pistol, S tier. Heroic Plasma Pistol is one of the best new heroics we've had in the entire game. This weapon is best in slot on multiple builds for Tech Marine and the tactical class, and also the heavy class. It's not super strong in the melee classes like Bulwark and Assault, mainly because they want that contested health recovery, but this weapon basically turns your Plasma Pistol into a one-shot heavy Plasma Incinerator. But because it's on the classes it's on, like Tactical and Tech Marine, you can get that damage up to like ludicrous numbers, and as a secondary option, being able to just AoE blast down an Extremis in one shot, that is incredible. And the big problem with the heavy plasma and stuff like that has always been ammo economy, but when you slap this on a class like Tactical that already has a great primary and great melee weapon, all those downsides of a heavy plasma gun go away and the upsides of damage are all that's left. So S tier for sure. Heroic Plasma Pistol is one of the best weapons in the game. Next weapon here is the honorific Relic tier Bolt Pistol. Now, this weapon actually got a buff in patch 14. They have upped the base damage by 15%. This has made this one of the best secondaries in the game for gunstrike damage. It's now equivalent in gunstrike damage with the heavy bolt pistol firepower variant, and the 3-round burst mechanic here is actually quite strong for other perk effects like Pattern of Excellence. I think the honorific Relic tier is actually a pretty strong gun in the game right now. I don't know if I'd put it in A tier. I think it is best in slot for stuff like the sniper builds, but overall I think there are some better options. Like Heroic Plasma Pistol is definitely better for like an overall damage nuking effect. But I would say this one can definitely go up in the, it's actually pretty hard. I'll put an A. I think A is actually a pretty good spot for this because Honorific Relic tier is pretty strong this patch. Maybe not like top of A, but definitely deserving. Next weapon here is the Relic Battle-Worn Heavy Plasma Incinerator. This takes away your charge shots on your heavy plasma entirely, completely swapping them out for light shots that are actually shockingly damaging with great AoE on their own. The common shots of a heavy plasma are super underrated in Space Marine 2. The only problem I have with this gun is really a problem I have with all heavy plasma guns, which is that the ammo economy on this is dog shit. If you don't build for pure ammo, you will run out. Like, the Relic Battle-Worn will eat through your ammo like nothing else in Space Marine 2 I have used. It is kind of absurd, but that being said, when you have ammo, when you build this for stuff like Strategic Stand or just go for full ammo economy, it does a ton of damage and you can just shoot forever. And also there's a way to make this never overheat. So I would say this one also goes up in the A tier. I think it's a great option and arguably the best heavy plasma in the game, and that alone puts it up here for me. Next weapon here is the Kohler's Teeth, or the Double Edge Relic for the, this isn't even Kohler's Teeth, it's called the Double Edge Relic in game. Either way, this is the heavy attack Chainsword balance variant. This one is okay. I definitely undervalued this last patch. I did try it out a bit more on like an overcharge build on the Assault, and I have to say, it's pretty fun. Like, this weapon is pretty fun to use. The double stomp builds are pretty gimmicky, but also pretty entertaining, and the damage this can put out is actually pretty substantial. And ever since patch 12, when they gave an animation cancel to the Assault class on his jump pack dash, you are able to cancel out of balanced parry windows, and because of that, this weapon is actually better than ever on him. Same thing with the Xenophase Blade, and I think you could probably put this up in the B. You know, it's not as strong as the other one we'll get into later, but it's definitely a good option, and you really can't go wrong with using it. Just be a little careful with that balanced parry window, but the damage buff definitely pretty decent. Next weapon here is the brand new Salamander Power Sword. This one is really fucking strong right now. It gives you a 300% damage bonus on Empower stacks when you perfect parry an enemy, and this is for your speed style as a light attack weapon. I think the Salamander Power Sword is very strong. I think it's a top 3 contender for the best power swords with like the Block Power Sword, Xenophase, and Salamander here, and I think this one's actually over the Xenophase Blade. I know it might be like a hot take, but I think the fact that this is a fencing parry window, even if like the actual active frames are equivalent to a block window, I think this one is definitely a very powerful pick, and a 0 frame startup parry on a power sword is very strong, and I don't think I can rightfully put the Xenophase above it when the Xenophase is stuck with balance, even if the perk effect's quite strong. So I'd say this one is a little over Xenophase and probably tied with the block power sword, but that's definitely where I want to put this one. Next one we have here is the Lord Executioner's Axe Hammer. This thing is pretty damn fun. I'm kind of torn on where I'd put this. This one gives you a replacement on the Aftershock, where instead of a normal slam, you have a giant spinning attack. The spinning attack is pretty good. Like, the radius on that is fat. You'll be able to catch enemies you would never expect to actually catch, even the ones that are like right behind you with Chaos Spawn. And I'd say overall, as far as like fun is concerned, this is an S tier pick. Like, this is a super fun weapon. And as far as the actual like gimmick goes, I think the gimmick is pretty effective. Now I'm kind of torn because part of me wants to put this up in the A tier, but I don't think it's quite as strong as these other options. Like, it's a pretty good option for a block weapon, but I think the block hammer is still a little bit better if you're playing with it more. Maybe I'll put it in the top of B. You know what? We'll put it in A. We've been pretty nice today on some of these weapons. I think I'll put it in the bottom of A. I think Lord Executioner's Axe is pretty strong. It's just not like blowing my mind in strength like the Salamander's Power Sword would, but I would say it's probably deserving an A just compared to other hammers in the game, and is definitely way better than the other heroic option here with Storm's Dominion we'll get into later. Next weapon here is the Deathwatch Power Fist D tier. This thing sucks. This thing, there's no reason to use this in the entire game over the other relic tier options. The Melta Blast effect is just worse than your actual charge attack. It is a balanced parry window, which also sucks. And the damage here is pretty good on your strength, but it's still weaker than the other relic tier balance option. And the only reason this weapon is good is because the Power Fist itself is good, but it's not actually because the heroic variant does anything for you. There is no reason to actually use this unless you want to have a Melta attack. It needs huge buffs. And honestly, this is like an embarrassingly bad heroic weapon. I'm going to put this in D tier. It's more functional than it was in the public test server, but that's not really saying much. I'm putting it all the way down the bottom. Next weapon here is the Wrapped Bolt Sniper Rifle S tier. This is the best bolt sniper rifle in the entire game. If you hit every single headshot, you will have infinite ammo on this, and also the headshot damage on this is absurd. You will one-shot like half the enemies in the game. It is a super fun weapon to use. Now, they did nerf it from the PTS back on like patch 11 to no longer give you ammo from stuff like Versatile Precision or Reloaded Restoration in the actual weapon perk tree. That does kind of suck, but even with that, this weapon's still a top tier pick. I think Wrapped Bolt Sniper Rifle is super fun to use and a great option, and definitely up in the S for me. Now, the next weapon here is the Wrapped Instigator. This weapon is by far the best Instigator bolt carbine in the game. I don't think it's quite as effective as the... Actually, no, I might actually put this in S. I think this is another one where like the heroic variant is just a strict power increase over every other option, and because of that, I would put it up in the S. And the heroic Instigator fits very well into like the best sniper builds in the game, and also some of the best Vanguard builds in the game, and because of that, I would put both of these in the S tier. Next weapon here is the brand new Combi Flamer. This weapon needs buffs. I am not a huge fan of the Combi Flamer. I think it is okay. Well, you know, I like the weapon. Okay, let's be clear. I like the weapon. The Flamer effect is cool. I just don't think this weapon actually does anything particularly better than the other bolt carbines do. And this weapon is strong, but the main reason this weapon is strong is because bolt carbines in Space Marine 2 are like S tier weapons. It's just that the Pyroblaster effect is kind of redundant on a weapon that is already incredibly potent at close range, and because of that, I'd probably put it in the B. Like, you're not going to feel terrible using this. It is definitely a good option in the game. It's just not really like going to blow your mind, and the Pyroblaster portion is super underwhelming, so I'd probably put it here after playing with it more. Next weapon here is the Chains of Duty Heroic Heavy Bolter, S tier. This is the best heavy bolter in the game. Actually, I would go as far as say this is the best heavy weapon in the game. It'll give you a fencing parry window. This weapon has no charge up speed for its max fire rate on the heavy bolter. The contested health recovery on this is top tier. The DPS is very strong. Patch 13 also buffed up body shot damage on every bolter weapon, including this one. And the biggest downside of heavy in Space Marine 2 is the balanced parry window, because balanced parry windows on that class will just animation lock you sometimes and get you killed against certain parry timings, and this one circumvents that entirely. If you are struggling with Chaos Spawn at all, just take a Chains of Duty. And also these days, we have Chains of Duty with the Heroic Plasma. You can take both, and they fit each other perfectly. So Chains of Duty, S tier for sure. One of the best heavy weapons in the game. I think the only competition this would ever have would be like the Heroic Plasma here, but I think Chains of Duty is better. Next weapon here is the White Scars Chainsword, S tier. This is the best chainsword in the game in my opinion. This thing has the Fury of Jagoras effect where you can stack up to 3 block charges, where the second one does a little bit less damage than a normal block charge, but the third one gives you more damage overall. It is a 12 strength, 8 speed weapon, making it incredibly fluid to use, and I think the White Scars Chainsword really just kind of replaced every other chainsword for me in this game. It is a super strong effect, and also as of like patch 12 plus, you can swap heroic skins around, so you aren't stuck with a White Scars skin the entire time, so it actually looks pretty cool on like any build you want. And White Scars Chainsword, I think this is like a top pick for like a first purchase, and for that reason I put it up in the S tier. I think it's a very powerful weapon, and I think the moment I saw this and like the Saber Interactive said they were bringing back the Artificer block sword from like last year as a heroic weapon, I knew it was going to be strong. Next weapon here is the brand new Salamander Melta Rifle. I like this weapon. Okay, I know a lot of you guys don't, but I like this weapon. It has a base damage increase of like 10% over the normal Melta Rifle portions. I don't think it's top tier. I'll be clear, I don't think it's top tier. I think the charge up sound effect just sounds cool, and because of that, it makes me feel like the weapon is doing more than it actually is. But as far as a Melta Rifle goes, I think it's a pretty okay side grade to the other ones. I don't think any of the Melta Rifles are like up in the S tier. I think the range Melta is like probably a bit better, but this one is still pretty good. I'd probably put like B tier alongside the Combi Flamer. It could use some buffs, but like I don't feel, betrayed by using it. Now, the next weapon here is Death's Grasp. This is the first heroic Power Fist we had, and this one is way better than the Deathwatch Power Fist. It will give you a 200% increase to your light attack damage and give you gun strikes on every single execute you do. This will give you like a free gun strike opportunity, but your charge attack damage is cut in half and is a fencing parry window. I think this one is actually pretty good. I think as far as fencing power fists go, this is the best fencing weapon in the game for that variant, or the weapon archetype of the power fist, and it's really not a bad choice at all. I've seen some people not like this one, but I actually think this is like the most noob-friendly weapon in the entire game. If you are brand new to Space Marine 2, I would probably recommend you get this one first to like level up your bulwarks or your assault, because once you have armor reinforcement on those classes, gets you armor back on every non-finisher gun strike, this weapon just kind of carries you through everything, and you don't have to like charge up your charge attacks at all. You can just light attack spam. Super easy, super fluid to use. I actually like this one quite a bit, even if I think it's a bit boring once you learn the game a bit more. But I would say up here in the A, Death's Grasp is definitely a strong option. The next weapon here is Storm's Dominion. This one's C tier. It is just a fencing hammer with like a gimmicky shock effect on the aftershocks. I don't think this one is very strong. I know a lot of people like this weapon, but every single other Thunderhammer, from like the Lord Executioner's Axe to the Relic tier block to the Relic tier balance, they're all better than this one. They do way more damage. The aftershocks on those are going to actually kill the enemy. This one's taking time to actually do anything on with the shock area. And the only reason I would take this is if I'm trying to use a fencing hammer, but fencing hammers aren't very strong in the first place, so I'm putting this one down C. Next weapon here is the Deathwatch Stalker Bolt Rifle. This one gives you an Auspex scan on 4 consecutive body shots, and the gun portion here is kind of like a mix between a rate of fire and the normal like ammo capacity one. I kind of like this one. I think the perk effect for the Auspex is pretty nice. Now this weapon does like fucking lie to you and tricks new players into thinking the Auspex scan is the same as a normal Auspex scan on the tactical class. They are actually separate effects that will stack, and they stack multiplicatively, so if you want to use it that way, you definitely can. The Deathwatch Stalker Bolt Rifle is by no means a bad weapon. It's just that the Deathwatch Stalker Bolt Rifle, the Auspex effect, the consecutive body shots, those don't work properly at the moment, where if you miss any shot, or if you have like a different damage instance from a grenade in between your 4 shots, it will reset the consecutive shots you're trying to pull off, which is super shitty. And because of that, I probably put it down in the C tier for now, maybe B. You know, I don't think it's like a terrible weapon. I think on the tactical, it actually has some use case scenarios, and I know a lot of people like this thing, but I don't think it's that strong. I don't feel like I'm betrayed by using it, but it's definitely, I don't feel like it's pushing up to these, to be honest. You know, fuck it, we'll put it in B. I think it's an okay weapon. It's an okay weapon. Next weapon here is Retributions Bequest. This one is the Heroic Heavy Bolt Pistol. It's the highest gun strike damage in the entire game. If you headshot a reinforcement calling enemy while you have this weapon, you will just one-shot them, and body shots will interrupt the reinforcement calls immediately. This one is super nice. The actual per shot damage here is also quite high, though the overall ammo economy is pretty shit. And I'd say this one can go up in the A tier. I think it's a pretty good pick. If you're going for a gunstrike build, it is very strong, and I've never really felt betrayed by using this weapon. I'm saying betrayal a lot, but the point is, like, I've never felt bad about using this weapon. Like, every time I brought it with me, it has done something. And against enemies like Chaos Spawn that for whatever reason hate being interrupted in the reinforcement calls, it is super clutch sometimes. Just make sure you have a better primary of this weapon to recover contested health, because this weapon's a little bit awkward for that. The next weapon here is the Argent Edge. This is the best heroic in the entire game. This weapon is fucking cracked. The Argent Edge will stagger an enemy on every single parry to give you a gunstrike opportunity. That is absurdly effective in this game. It's kind of hard to like fully explain how good this weapon actually is until you play with it, because you're like, oh, what? I just get a free gunstrike on every parry? Doesn't that happen anyways? No. In Space Marine 2, there are multiple parry combos from stuff like Raveners or melee Terminators that you cannot interrupt for a gunstrike on the first parry, and this one will do that every single time. And the only downside to that is that this weapon has a block active frame, but 0 frame startups, just like the Salamander Power Sword, are very strong in Space Marine 2, and having half the active frames does not matter that much. This weapon is one of the best melee weapons in the entire game. As far as fencing weapons go, I think this is just the best fencing weapon in Space Marine 2, period, and any build it's on is going to benefit on like Sniper, Vanguard even. Vanguard's probably the worst for this, but even on Vanguard, it's still quite strong. And on top of all of that, this weapon also does free damage on a perfect parry, so a really strong pick. Argent Edge, S tier for sure. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. Next weapon here is also S tier, the Deathwatch Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle. This weapon is the de facto best in slot in patch 14 for both tactical and tech marine. This is just a better version of the heavy bolt rifle in pretty much every single way, because you have all the benefits of one of the better bolter guns in the game currently, on top of a gigantic fucking grenade launcher attached to it. And grenades in Space Marine 2, they are peak. They are incredible. They will recover your contested health in like one shot. They will take you from zero, or like, you know, from almost your entire white bar to full in a single blast. They will do tremendous AoE damage. And if you stack this on tactical with Aspect Scan, you can just obliterate like a boss. You can obliterate every guy around them. It does a ton of damage. And in Siege mode especially, this is a top tier pick, but even in the operation, it's just the best now, because Pyroblast Burn on Aspects got nerfed, and this fits perfectly into the tactical and tech marine. The only class is kind of bad on is the heavy. That's because the heavy's got better options like the Chains of Duty, and he doesn't worry about that contested health recovery as much because he's a gigantic tank. But Deathwatch Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle, I think this is the second best heroic in the entire game right now, and definitely deserves to be up in the S. I'll tell you what it doesn't deserve to be up in the S though, and that is the next one here with the Ultima Ratio. This is the heroic Omniscient Axe. It got buffed this patch. It still sucks. This weapon is fucking dog shit. You are better off taking the balanced Omniscient Axe every single time pretty much. It is just a terrible effect. The whole thing about this is to buff up your Omniscient Rush attack to like one-shot guys, but the balanced one already one-shots guys, and the balanced one also one-shots entire hordes with the overcharge, or like your shock AoE that you do on the Omniscient Axe. It is just a much better weapon, and if you're taking a fencing weapon on the Tech Marine, you're just going to take Argent Edge. So Ultimate Ratio are really, really trash, and not quite as trash as the Deathwatch Power Fist, but definitely not good. Final one here is the Encarmine Axe. I think this one, I put an S last time. I think I might put this in S again. I think this one is just as good as the other block power axe. This one allows you to store up your power backstep, which doesn't sound that good initially, but being able to store up a power backstep to like AoE a horde with gigantic cleaving potential, that is actually quite strong. And this weapon also can use discharge to great effect because of that. And also the speed of this weapon is a bit faster on the block axe, so in some cases it is better for horde control. And because it's up here as a side grade to the best option for the base weapon, I think it is up in the S tier here. It might actually be a little bit better in some cases, but that is pretty much all there is that I have to say about the heroic weapons in Space Marine 2 patch 14. You guys let me know what you think about the heroic weapons in this game. You know, there is some stuff I might move around here, like, you know, if I thought about it a bit more, if like you asked me like in the middle of the moment, but I think for the most part this is my opinion on every single one and where I would rank them accordingly. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. And I also want to mention before I even finish this off that if you guys want to use a weapon like the Deathwatch Power Fist or the Ultima Ratio or Storm's Dominion, don't look at a tier list and say like, oh my god, they put it in S tier, so I have to use the S tier option. This one's only A tier. How dare he put it in B tier? I can't use that now. Use whatever you want. Like, none of these weapons are particularly dog shit, like overall I should say. They're just dog shit in comparison to other weapon options in the game. It's not to say they're unusable, because I think you could take any weapon into this, or any weapon here, into absolute difficulty and do just fine. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that, especially if you're a new player. And if you like content like this, subscribe for more. If you want to watch me live to ask you questions about the game or just come hang out, you can find me here on YouTube or on Twitch with a link in the video description. I'll also have a link to my community Discord. And as always, thank you for watching. Take it easy. Bye.